What's up guys, TopTierYugioh here, and yesterday I got 21st place at the Fredericksburg Regional, so this is going to be what I played, and as you can see I did play Zoodiacs. I'm going to really miss using these two cards, but they're both really broken, so it's time for them to go finally. And so let's get into the profile. First we have 3 Terratops, 1 Takedown Borg, very standard, going to miss it of course. For the Zoodiac engine, 2 Rats, 3 Whiptails, 1 Thoroughblade and 1 Ramram. This is my first time playing Pure Zoodiacs, so I've never had a Zoodiac engine this large, and so it was a really interesting experience being able to play with this. But I did enjoy it, and making big Zoodiac monsters with the extra Whiptails is really nice. Actually, resolving Thoroughblade was fun, so I enjoyed it. I did wish I used Ramram more though, which is something that you don't do as often as you do in the True Draco build, like I played at ARG Richmond. For the hand traps, I played not 2, but 3 Ghost Ogres with mismatch rarities, 2 Flying Seas, and 1 Maxi. Once again, I don't have any Ghost Ash because I have bills to pay, and I'm sure we can all understand that. And so, the Ghost Ogres are really good, obviously. They just have a lot of interactions in most matchups against diagrams, against barrages, even just monsters. The Flying Seas were decent. I didn't really play that many Zoodiacs for a long time. When I finally played Zoodiacs, they just sort of always had barrage. Yeah, Flying Sea wasn't that really wasn't that good for me. Like, I won games with it in my hand. I didn't need it, and then when I needed it, my opponent had the out for it. But I could have played it better. I didn't really maximize its power, and so that's something I need to work on. And then Maxi was non-existent. I didn't draw Maxi once. I've been playing Ulti Maxi for a while, but I want to go back to OG Supers, but it wasn't that good. And Supers aren't even OG. It's like 10 Supers, but that's probably why I didn't draw it. And then finally, 1 Lunalight Black Sheep, and this was great, kind of. So then for the spells, I played 3 Barrage, 3 Tinky. It's pretty standard. 2 Cosmic Cyclones. Of course, this is one of my favorite cards of the format. I've said it in like every video, but I really do like it. It really does what it's supposed to do, hitting back row, hitting barrages, Tinkies, diagrams, True Draco cards. Really good. But the next 4 cards are really important to the deck, and those are 2 My Bodies and 2 Enemy Controllers. So these were amazing, and so My Body really made it hard for my opponents to read around, or to play around. And I realized this card was really good because, or I mean it was obviously good in Zoodiacs, but it really hit me how good it was at ARG Richmond when I played, I forgot his name, but we had played round 7, and I realized like I just could not read whether or not he had it. Like, I never knew. And I feel like usually when I play, I know, what cards my opponents have at all times. Like, I just always know. Like, you can always pick up reads based on their plays, but it's so hard to read My Body. And so I felt that it was something I should probably be playing as well, and it really worked out very well. And Enemy Controller was just insane, like for defense, and then just for playing through my opponent's fields as well. So like there were a couple games to where or there was one game against dinosaurs in particular where I had 2 Econs and they tried to attack me and they were gonna kill me. So I used one to change their ultimate conductor Tyrant to defense, and then I used the second one on their next turn to take their conductor Tyranno, attack all their monsters with it, and then kill them. And so it was just like I got these both effects in that game, and both really saved me. So Econ was insane, and just in general playing around things. Like I took a Masterpiece, I took a couple of Tridents, a Hammer Kong. Like, it was really good. And then 2 Fusion Substitutes. This was awesome for me. Like, I was really scared going into the event, and I didn't put the second one in until the night before. And this was actually the 41st card of the deck. I couldn't think of anything else to take out, but I was really scared because I had never played Pure Zoo before, and so I didn't know any of the double fusion substitute plays. Like, I sort of got the gist of how they kind of work, but I had never done it before. And I stayed up really late the night before just practicing and trying to get it down and make mental shortcuts and checklist on what hands do what I can really do with fusion substitute. And I felt really good about it, and at the event, I only misplayed with it 1 time, and even when I misplayed with it, it wasn't something that cost me the game. It was like I drew 1 less card and didn't end with an optimal board, but I still had Emerald Trident and extra cards, so it was still really good. And then yeah, and the Retaliating Sea wasn't even a big problem either, because I felt like a lot of people didn't play it for some reason. And I was actually gonna play it as well, but one of my teammates, Alan, told me not to play it, and he was very correct, and so it was fine. I guess other people didn't play it either, and it worked out for me. And the final spell card is one Raigeki. For the traps, this is the most traps I've played in over a year. But 2 Barrier, 2 Unending Nightmare, 2 Mirror Forces, 1 Imperial Order, and 1 Zoodiac combo. I've never played this many traps, or I have, but not in over a year. I never really liked trap decks very much. I always like more combo heavy decks where I just get to play out my hands, play through my opponent's traps, and then kind of use my monsters as defense. So this is sort of an interesting contrast, but I did enjoy it, and it worked out very well for me. The barriers are good, and I would play a third if I had one, but again, I have bills to pay. Unending Nightmare was insane, though, and this is something that nobody saw coming. And whenever I drew it and resolved it, I won the game immediately, because I was just able to hit, like, Barrage, Tanky Diagram. And there was I had a feature match round 3 against Pure True Dracos, and I paid about 5,000 to 6,000 life points, and I just destroyed everything he had. It was insane. It single-handedly won me that game. Mirror Force was good too, and the reason I played Mirror Force was that I felt that against Zoodiacs, board wipes are so big. Like, even if I'm going second, Mirror Force is not a bad card because they have nothing in their engine to out face down back row, and so it was just always good. Like, they had to have something like Cosmic Cyclone and Twin Twisters, and if they didn't, I was going to clear their board and make them really waste all their resources. It was also good as another out to Masterpiece because I feel like you never know what they can make Masterpiece immune to, and you can't really play around that either because there's really no set standard play. Like, it's easy to assume they're always going to do spells and monsters, but if they do spells and monsters and you don't have any traps to actually out it, then you're going to lose. But if they do traps and monsters and you don't have any spells like Raigeki or Enemy Controller or My Body, then you're going to lose. So I felt that it was important to play a lot of outs to Masterpiece of all different card types. Like, of course, you have your monsters with your Trident, but I wanted to have these as traps. I wanted Raigeki, Enemy Controller, and My Body as other cards that are going to be able to out Masterpiece. And there are also other traps in my side deck that can out Masterpiece. And so that was sort of my theory going into it, and it worked out pretty well for me. And then, of course, the final spells, final traps, Imperial Order and Zoodiac combo were cool. Combo is really important. I always felt that Zoodiacs are probably like an easy deck to play because I'd never played Pure before. I just played variants and hybrids, and I thought, oh, Pure is not going to be hard to play. But combo was really, really good in Pure, and that's something I didn't quite understand until after a couple of rounds. But it's really important for managing your resources because when I was testing, I kept just running out of my cards. Like, I would run out of Zoodiac monsters. I would run out of stuff in my deck, and so this is really important. And what I was doing wrong was I was always sending Ram off of the Rat Summon. And then with that, like doing the extra combos with the Ram rather than sending combo, which allowed me to have follow-up plays. For the extra deck, 1 Norden, of course, 1 Invoker, 1 Borbo, 1 Hammer Kong. These are the best 2 ones, I think. I mean, this one attacks for game, and this is the only one that generally can attack for game. Hammer Kong protects your boards. It's great. 2 Tiger Mortar. I don't know why more people don't play this, but it's amazing, especially for attacking over Masterpiece. Really, really good to have extra Tiger Mortars. 2 Shakanine, 2 Broad Bull, 2 Trident. The third one does come up a lot. And then finally, 2 Emeralds and 1 Dweller. Dweller came up once. I did want to play a Tornado Dragon, but Dweller was fine. I would probably just take something else out for a Tornado Dragon if I had one, but it was good. I'm happy with this extra deck. I used every card in it multiple times, so it was fine. For the side deck, I played 1 Torrential, so that's another out to Masterpiece. 2 Forbidden Apocrypha. This card was good. It was good. I only resolved it once, and I lost the game anyways, but in theory, it was really good. Then 2 Royal Decrees, 1 Twin Twister. These are like for back row heavy decks. And also, I did play a Chainburn player, and so these were really clutch. But also, I was afraid about Paleo going into it, so I thought this would be good against them. 3 Retaliating Seas. I'd never sided these in once, and I was going to main deck these. That's the crazy thing. Like, I really wanted to main deck these until my teammate Alan was saying, yo, don't main deck them. And I didn't even want to side them in ever. Like, I played 1 Pure Zoo, and he played around Retaliating Sea even though I didn't have it the whole time. So this was not good. 2 Kaijus. I didn't play these specific 2 for any particular reason. I'm pretty sure I lent one of my friends my other Gamma Seal, and that's why I played the Sticky Icky. But, you know, it didn't matter. I just wanted to out Masterpiece. 2 Dark Holes for outing Masterpiece and other boards. And then 2 Chalice for also outing boards. So if you noticed, I didn't side any cards that are good going first. Like, all of these are good going second. And the reason for that is that I feel like this deck is just already really, really good going first. And I'm already main decking so many other good cards going first, like Imperial Order, Mirror Force, Unending Nightmare, Barrier. All of these are pretty useful going first. I mean, Rageki's not, but like everything else in the deck is amazing going first. And I felt like there was nothing really that I could side that makes it better. Outside of maybe more traps, but I felt like even just Chalice was good enough to make the deck better going first. And so there were games where if I was playing against something where, I don't know, maybe Flying Sea wasn't good, I would like side out the 2 Flying Seas for the 2 Chalices. So that's what I did against True Dracos, for example. And so overall, it was a pretty good event. Like, the judges were fantastic. Like, it was all of my favorite judges, and that was awesome. The event ran so smoothly. It started a little late, but we ended really early, and so that's sort of a testament to that. Like, we were out by like 7 p.m., which is awesome. As for my rounds, let's see. Round 1, I played against Chainburn, and oh my god, like, I drew broken. Like, I drew Barrier, Terratop, like Barrier, Terratop, Unending Nightmare, something else. Like, it was all good cards, and the guy had like a Borbo on top of his extra deck, and I was so excited after I won the die roll because I thought I was gonna just have an easy round 1 mirror match. I drew broken, so I was gonna win. But I should have known, because anyone who shows their extra deck face up is probably lying about it. And this guy was lying about it. It wasn't a Zoodiac extra deck. He was playing Chainburn. He tricked me. And like, it didn't matter. I would have did the same thing regardless. But like, mentally, I was really mad. I was like, come on, dude. Why are you playing Chainburn? Nobody likes Chainburn. And so the thing that sucked though was that I drew like 6 cards, I think. 6 or 7 cards off the combos. And I thought I was in a really good position once again, until he sets 5 and passes, and he Secret Barrels, Secret Blast, like all this stuff. I took like, I want to say 5,000 damage, something around there. And then he also Ojama tokened me. Ojama Trio, yeah. So I had the tokens. So I had like no monster zones that are usable, and I had no life points. He Quaking Mirror Forced me, so I had no usable monster zones at one point. It was awful. It was really bad. And it was one of the rare times where you go through the whole Zoodiac combo and still lose. And so that sucked. And the worst thing about it was I really felt that he was trying to slow play me. And I wasn't sure, like, what's the proper etiquette when someone is slow playing? Because there were so many times within the match where he's, like, reading Borbo. And I'm like, look, dude, Borbo is not, I'm not going to use the effect at any point. It does nothing. And he's like, well, I just want to know, I want to be sure what the Zoodiac monsters do and be sure which ones you use. He's like, what's Hammer Kong do again? And I'm like, come on, dude. Like, our game 1 took about 25 minutes. And so I realized how long this is taking, and you're sitting here trying to read a Hammer Kong? Like, come on, that's not, come on. And then there's another point where, like, we had a really simplified game state where, like, he had no cards in hand or on field, so he's just top decking. And I have my whole board, I'm just trying to, like, poke with, like, weak monsters, like Whiptail under, like, a Hammer Kong or whatever. Just trying to poke and get his life points down. And, like, he would draw for turn, so he'd have only 1 card, and he would just, like, draw, and he'd be reading it, like, thinking about something, asking to look through my graveyard, look through his own graveyard, and I'm like, dude, we have, like, 10 minutes left. Why are you looking through both the graveyards when there are no graveyard effects? Like, if you have a spell card that does anything, like, if you have Duality Demise, like, just activate it. If you get anything that does any life point damage, because I'm down to solo, you win. If you draw a trap, just set it. If it's one of those traps, pass turn, activate it, you win. Like, don't waste the time. So he was really trying to slow play, and that was really annoying. So I sided in my Royal Decrees, and in games 2 and 3, I drew them and beat him. Because it's hard not to draw them when you draw 6 to 7 cards. Round 2, I played against Windwitch Eidolon deck. Invoked. Why'd I say Eidolon? But Windwitch Invoked deck. And I won that 2-1. It was actually a really good matchup. It was really hard to out that Crystal Wing that has the boosted attack, but I was able to bait the effect. He's being overly conservative with it too, so I was really able to just bait it and then attack over it. So that was pretty easy. Round 3 was a feature match against True Draco Demise, and hands down the MVP was Unending Nightmare. Once again, I paid like 5,000 to 6,000 life points. I hit 2 diagrams, like a heritage, a trap, and you could play around the graveyard effects too. So I was really just destroying him with Unending Nightmare. That was awesome. And then game two, Chalice was really good. I was able to Chalice a Dynamite and then put in some damage through the Dynamite so he didn't get the search. And I really just out-resourced him. Round 4, I played against Zoodiacs. This is the only Pure Zoo player I played. And it was Tyree Tinsley, so that was a swift 0-2. So he beat me really badly. And he just drew really well. And it happens. Like, I had opened very strong game 1. Like, I had Terratop, Flying Sea, Tanky, Ghost Ogre, and something else. No, I didn't have Ghost Ogre. It was something else, but it was a good hand nonetheless. Like, just this by itself is good. But what had happened... Oh, I think I had a Barrage, too. What was it? Tanky, Barrage, and some 5th card that didn't matter. But the point that I'm making is that I special summoned Terratop. He max seeded me on the Invoker. So then I had to summon a Ram in defense and just Dryden over it. And then he Dark Holed me and made a huge board that I couldn't answer. When I tried to Flying Sea him, he barraged the Flying Sea. And that was that. And then game 2, the same thing happened. I went first. I special summoned Terratop, made Invoker. He max seeded me. I summoned the Ram in defense. Dryden ended. And then he... Oh, except this time I didn't have any... I had back row the first time, I think. I had a Mirror Force or something. But this time I didn't have back row. And he Dark Holed me, cleared my board, and then he made a big board and killed me. So it was very swift 2-0. I don't know how he drew Terratop, Barrage, and Dark Hole and Maxi every game, but it happens. I've had those games before too where you just draw broken, and it happens. Round 5, I played a really good local player, Brad, and game 1, I went first. He didn't have hand traps, and so that was bad. Game 2, he had some of the masterpiece that I couldn't deal with, and he also had a really good strike. Like, I didn't read the strike at all, and he timed it perfectly, and that was really good. And then game 3, I picked like unplayable hand. Like, I had drew Ghost Ogre. That was the only monster I drew. It was Ghost Ogre. Let's see, combo, order, Mirror Force, and wait, no, not the order. It's Fusion Sub. Oh wait, I wrote it down. I almost had it. Yeah, it was these 5 cards I drew. And so this was a really bad turn 1. And I feel like I could have done it better, honestly. So this is something I'll have to keep in mind next time. And I mentioned this when I talked about judging your own skill. And I mentioned that sometimes I forget about a lot of the things that are like rulings and mechanics. And this isn't really a ruling mechanic. It's more of a mental game thing. But I did forget about it. And so what had happened was I didn't want to set my Fusion Substitute and lose that to like a Cosmic Cyclone or something. So I held this in hand. I held all 3 of these in hand. I set 2 back row. And so let's say this is my deck here. And so I set them just like this. And my opponent summons a Masterpiece, so he's going to use the effect to destroy 1 of the 2 back rows. So he has a 50-50 chance of hitting the Mirror Force. The Masterpiece was immune to spells and monsters. And so he did actually choose the Mirror Force. And this is something that I talked about in my interactive duel video, where I talked about your placement of your back row depending on the number that you set. And so, like, I was on tilt after just drawing this hand. Like, I just didn't think. I was so mad that I bricked this hard, but I didn't think about this. But I mentioned this before. When you have 2 back row, there's a tendency to destroy the card that's closest to the main deck because there's so much more emphasis on your main deck that, people tend to think to destroy whatever is closest to it if you only have 2. And a lot of times they're correct. And like, I just subconsciously put the Mirror Force here because that's really what happens. Like, there's more emphasis on it. And so a lot of times you tend to put your cards that are more important there, and your opponents tend to focus their removal there as well. And so a lot of times if you just switch the placement, you can save your cards. But I had not done that, and it really cost me probably the match. And so that was really unfortunate. So I'm not quite sure if that's a misplay. Like, I made the correct technical play to set Mirror Force, but I made the incorrect mental play. I don't know, it's like a mental misplay. It's something, but it's relevant that a lot of people probably wouldn't mention. So that was what happened. He destroyed my Mirror Force, and I just didn't draw any monsters for the rest of the game, so I wasn't able to out it or anything. And so I ended up losing that. He ended up getting like 13th place, I think. So congrats to him. probably doesn't watch my videos, so he maybe has no idea I just congratulated him. But round 6, I played another local player. He's playing Dinosaur Zoodiacs. In game 1, he maxed me. And so, of course, I had to max C him back, except he actually took the challenge, and I drew about 15 cards, and they were all awful. Like, I drew triple Barrage, triple Tinky, I drew multiple Terratops, and the only good things I drew were 2 enemy controllers. And, I mean, these are good too, but just multiples aren't good. And these are the main good ones, though, because he stopped me on my turn, and then luckily I had the enemy controllers to set for defense, so that when he tried to push, once again, I think I mentioned this earlier, but I changed his Tyranno to defense to save me. And then on my next turn, I stole his Tyranno and killed him. And then game 2, he had went off turn 1, but I had a dark hole for it. And then it sucked because he banished my Norden, my Invoker, and something else. And I special summoned Terratop Takedownborg, and he's just like staring at me. And I'm like, what is this dude? Why are you staring at me like this? And I overlay them. And he looks at me funny, and I'm looking at my extra deck, and I'm like, oh, wait, yeah, you did banish my Invoker. So I just had Terratop Takedownborg and attack it. So I attacked direct with like Terratop Takedownborg, Whiptail Trident, and some other stuff. And so that got him down pretty low, and then we went into time. And fortunately, I was able to pull it out. He didn't have an answer for it, and I ended up making a Dweller, which did hurt him pretty badly. So that was a 2-0. Round 7, I played against Zombie Zoodiacs. And this is sort of like, I guess, the karma balancing after what Tyree did to me. Like, I drew really good, and my opponent drew really bad. And so it's unfortunate that it happens, but there are games where you just draw really well and your opponent doesn't. And so it was a quick 2-0. But he won his last round, so I'm happy for him. He was a good tiebreaker. Round 8 was a Zoodiac Mirror. I played against Calvin Tahan. And once again, Unending Nightmare really, really saved me. I mean, so did him not drawing a hand trap, but Unending Nightmare put in work. So I went first. I had Unending Nightmare. By the end of the combo, I had Unending Nightmare, Mirror Force, Barrier, and what was the 4th back row? Enemy Controller. And so really, if you have to play through Trident, Emerald, and then through this back row, like, it's impossible. It was an unwinnable game for him. And in game 2, he went first, and he had Masterpiece. I don't remember if he had back row or not, but he did have a Ghost Ogre. But the main thing was that I only had one play in my hand, and it was normal summoning a rat. And so I normal summoned the rat, and he knew I played my body because I had revealed it in the last game. But he knew I played my body, and so it was funny because we talked about this during the like, while we were deciding, we talked about like Ghost Ogre and my body, and like pretty much like what outs your hand traps can out, or what things your hand traps can out. And one of them was, getting your rat my body, or getting your rat Ghost Ogre and not having my body is really bad. And so I normal summon rat, and he's like, I know you probably have my body in hand, but let's just try. There's no point in not trying it. And so he tried to Ghost Ogre. I didn't have my body, and it promptly ended my turn. And so he ended up killing me the next turn. And then game 3, unfortunately, the same thing as game 1 happened. I drew really well. Unending Nightmare was really strong. I think he did have a hand trap this time, but I just had more plays. So I ended up winning that 2-1. And so I finished 6-2 and got 21st place. So that was a good regional. I'm pretty happy with it for my first time playing Pure Zoodiacs. And I know it's like easy to say, oh, it's just Zoodiacs, it's easy to play, or you play hybrids, you know how to play them, but it's actually very, very different. And I am happy that I had these results. I practiced a lot and it paid off. And so for shout outs, I guess I'll shout out Alan. He got 3rd place. So he definitely helped me a lot with building the deck and with some of the tech, and also with the technical play aspects. He told me about like what to send with rat. Like, are you gonna send your combo or send Ram? What are you gonna do with enemy controller? He told me not to play Retaliating C. So he definitely worthy of a shout out there. Shout outs to the rest of OVG. They help me test all the time to keep me in good playing condition. Shout outs to Team Monster, CJ and Alex. Both of them did really, really good. They got their first invites, so shout outs to them. I'm definitely really proud of them because they've been hunting for it. So this is exciting. Their first invites. And like anyone who remembers getting their first invite, you know how good that feels, like that satisfaction of like finally. And so getting in the final regional of the format before Nats, it's awesome. So definitely happy for him. Shout outs to the Wild Wild West. They also helped me a lot. And then shout out to Ken for not getting kicked out. Yeah, I think that's it. And oh yeah, shout out to you guys. Is this point at you guys? But shout out to you guys watching. Like you guys inspire me so much to keep playing, keep improving, keep getting better, and to keep having strong results. Like, you know, I don't want to. I would feel bad if I was like, making all these videos about judging skill, how good are you, all these theory videos, like blah blah blah, and then I was trash. Like that would be embarrassing. So yeah, you guys inspire me to keep improving and to share that knowledge on. And so thanks for watching, guys, and then I'll see you in the next video. This is it for Zoodiac. So for those of you who are tired of Zoodiacs, you wouldn't have watched this far, but if you did, not many more Zoodiac deck profiles for a while, so that's good. But alright, guys, see you in the next video.
Remember that time, those cerulean tides, sapphire, sapphire.